Have you ever wondered why some people seem to rise above challenges while others sink into bitterness? The truth is, it's not about luck, it's about choice, the right of choice. Some people see pain and struggle everywhere, while others, even in hardship, find a thread of hope. Today, I want to invite you into a conversation that isn't just about belief, but about the human heart and the way soul journeys through life.
And sound of God.
Okay, the topic for this evening is the right of choice. There are all these brochures that come in the mail, and I like to look through them. I call it my fun mail. Business brochures, medical brochures, gadgets, catalogs. I like to flip through them, and one particular one came about a week ago, and it said in there, here is a sure cure for high blood pressure. And it was advice that this writer's grandmother had given him some years before. And she just, the advice was simply, let it. For instance, if it threatens rain, let it. And that's the cure for high blood pressure. And in the same letter, there was another little blurb where the writer told of an art critic who was nearly 90 years old. And this art critic said he would gladly beg on a street corner for all the spare minutes that passersby had to give him, because life was so precious to him. And this is the basis for the talk this evening, the right of choice. So many people today fall into this myth of the victim consciousness, as if someone else could ever be responsible for the trouble that comes to them. And yet, from the perspective of the ACT teachings, we know of reincarnation and karma. This perspective lets us look at our follies in a broader term and in a broader scope than most of our neighbors are even trained to look. Anything that's happened to other people, they feel has happened to them since birth. Usually it's a social problem of some kind. They didn't grow up in the right part of the world, in the right society, so many hardships, that sort of thing. In other words, they failed because they were in the wrong place at the right time. But in EC we realize we are in the right place at the right time, no matter what our circumstances may be. We have put ourselves where we are today. This is, I feel, the single most important distinction between the ACT teachings and many of the other religious teachings that are in the world today. Of course, there are other paths that teach karma and reincarnation. Millions of people hold these beliefs. But millions of people do not hold the belief and the knowledge that we are soul and we move to the light and sound of God. And the light and sound of God, of course, being divine love. Soul is soul, and soul has this desire to go home to God. And this is the quest for happiness that people misunderstand today. They want to be happy, and so their pursuit of happiness takes the path of pleasure and this sort of thing, which is all necessary for the total experience of soul. Because at the end of the line, with complete experience, each of you will then become a co-worker with God. This is a hard one to explain, becoming a co-worker with God. People say, well, that sounds like a lot of fun. Really, I'd like to do that, sure, sometime. And that's it, you know, like this. But the closest I can compare it to, and not everyone will understand this, and there may be only 5–10% of you, but if you love your job or your work, your profession, if you love what you're doing, then you'll have some idea what it means to be a co-worker with God. It means simply you're doing what you want to do, what you enjoy doing. You do what gives you the chance for the most spiritual growth and personal fulfillment. That is how it is to be as a co-worker with God. And this is the best analogy I can make. To become a co-worker with God is your goal. And if you enjoy your work, or if you've ever had a job that you've enjoyed, or a position, or anything along this line, try to go back and imagine the best parts of that. That's a little of what it's like to be a co-worker with God. Lots of things to do. And in giving, you receive. And this is the whole point I try to make in these talks. So this is a year of Thanksgiving. And my wife mentioned before I came out here, in her gentle way, that it would be good to say Thanksgiving for what? And I said, well, I thought I covered that last night. Thanksgiving for the gift of life. And she said, well, you did cover it, but not quite so concisely. So I just saying it now, if you're wondering what this year of Thanksgiving is for. It's a state of consciousness. And it will go longer than from our spiritual new year to the next spiritual new year. It's one of the attributes or one of the qualities that comes with a person who loves God. To serve others is to love others, and to love others is to serve others. One of the echinaceiates was helping out at the youth room at next seminar, and he was putting up some pictures that the children had drawn, hanging them on the wall. Then he'd sit down at a table here and prepare other things ready to hang up. And then across him was this young boy. He was maybe 5 or 6, somewhere in there, at the age when kids pretty much speak as they think. And the little guy just looked around, he said, to no one in particular, "I love my life. I love my life." And he was just as pleased with himself as could be. He didn't care if anybody heard him. Didn't look around, see if anybody was paying attention. Was anyone clapping, listening, approving, disproving, disapproving, I guess? And so he kept talking along this vein, just kept working at what he was doing. And then he said, "All those who love their life, raise their hand." And some of the other little kids were listening, and they raised their hand. And then he went on, he said, "I am the oldest man on earth." And he didn't care what others said or thought. He was expressing himself as soul, because soul has no age. And he was speaking from a purely spiritual viewpoint. And he certainly uplifted the spirits of this man who had come into the youth room to help out. And this gentleman said, this young boy, he wasn't trying to convince anyone of anything. He was just being himself, a joyful, happy soul, intruding into no one's space, but just declaring his state of happiness. And that was all it took. But this rubbed off on the whole room. And this is also how you, as members of ACK, are when you go out into the world. You don't necessarily sit at a table and say, I love my life. But it shows in the things you do, in the love and attention that you give to your work and to the people around you. They can tell there's something special. Doesn't mean you always have a good day. You may have a good day 10% of the time, because life is hard. This place wasn't meant to be paradise. I look at the news reports today, and people are again looking for peace on earth. They're seeing reports of peace breaking out all over, you know. And it strikes me almost funny, because it shows they do not understand the reason God created this place. It's a schoolroom. Earth is a schoolroom for soul. It must learn, soul must learn all the spiritual lessons that are necessary before it can become a co-worker with God. It must learn all the spiritual lessons of life before it can gain spiritual freedom. Don't mistake me, it doesn't mean that we do not work for peace. Sometimes earth can be a very dreary, desolate place, but our job is to put the little bright flowers around so as to lift the spirits of others. You are to be lights of God, because you are soul, to carry happiness and joy into the dark corners of this earth world. The right of choice, it's our attitude, the way we look at things, that often determines whether or not we are happy or miserable, or whether we are full of love or whether we are full of fear. At other times, there's also the right of choice when it comes to arranging our daily life without understanding that the tragedy we face has all kinds of experiences involved, where if we do it a certain way, we will end a chain of karma that has been going on probably for centuries. A debt that needs to be repaid before one of the individuals in this net can gain spiritual freedom.
This is not just about a story, it's about perspective. The way we look at life shapes the life we live. Too often we carry heavy burdens because we are convinced the world is against us. But what if, just what if, life is also for us? That every situation, even the painful ones, carry a hidden seed that is meant to help us grow. Sometimes truth doesn't arrive in big announcement, but because we've been trained by family, by culture or religion, we may resist listening if it doesn't sound familiar. And that's normal. Soul, the really you, knows the truth when it hears it. It's like a turning fork that vibrates the moment the right note is struck. I want you to think for a moment. What story are you telling yourself about your life right now? Is it of a struggle or of learning and becoming? What weight are you carrying today that you wish someone understood? Could it be that unseen life has already placed along your path? Are you willing to let go even little of how you've been taught to see God, love, or yourself, and open your heart to discover more? Many of us, when life gets tough, we fall into blame, pointing to our parents, family, friends, and partners, even ourselves, saying they failed me, that's why I'm hurting. But blame is heavy. It keeps us locked in the same circle, facing the same lessons again and again and again. What if instead of blame, we met these moments with love? What if we could see challenges as opportunities? Life's way of saying, here is your chance to grow stronger, freer, or even more compassionate. Imagine how lighter life could feel instead of fear and anger. We greeted our lessons with quite excitement. Ah, it's here to teach me something. Let me walk through it with love. That shift alone can make the hardest path easier to walk. When Harold speaks, I don't just hear an echo speaking. I hear a reminder to every soul that we are more than the stories we've been given. We are more than the pains, the labels, or even the beliefs we inherited. And now listen carefully. You don't have to believe what I believe, but if you pause long enough, you might feel this, that life is kinder, wiser, and more guided than what we sometimes think. So as you listen with me, don't just hear the words. Let your own life play in your mind and ask yourself, what is life trying to show me? Because when you start to see differently, you start to live differently. And one shift of awareness can open a door you didn't even know existed. This is where we stop today for this teaching. And please, if this touched you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so that this video can reach many souls. I love you all.